Middle ground. You don't fall into balance, honey. You gotta build that middle ground. You gotta make choices every day to build your own habitat. Your indecision's a choice. You stand there like some sort of obelisk of perspective, all the while asserting your indignant passivism as some sort of solution to life's problems. It's not. It's insane to yell at somebody in the front seat of the car that I'm losing control. You're standing in the trunk. And I gotta be afraid of the monsters in my own habitat? Well, it's better to live in a world of my own creation than a world of others' command. And if I'm gonna get eaten alive, I might as well be in the world that I chose to walk in. Better to die by my choice than by indecision. And honey, that's balance. That's balance.
Hello, hi, my name is Jackson Bernard Poulain, and welcome back to Alphabet Superset. You just watched H is for Habitat, part B of a two-part series where Aurora talks to Bo. This was Aurora's response to Bo on his idea of balance and what it means to be a human in society. This week's word was habitat. It was predetermined at the beginning of the process, and in response to Bo's conversation about balance, Aurora has her own perspective on what balance means for her. And whereas Bo is all about letting go and falling into kind of like this balance that like the world would just be okay. Aurora's is like, you have to make decisions every day. Like you have to control your balance, and that's their fundamental difference. Habitat I kind of thought of as a balance because it's automatically homeostasis. You have kind of a world that reaches its equilibrium of the amount of predators it can have, the amount of like how hot it gets, how cold it, like it just, everything is kind of in a balance in Habitat. But her concept was like she creates this world for herself. She creates her own habitat, and that's the balance that she lives with. And she accepts the evil as she accepts the good, which I think is more important than Bo's argument. Three good things about the writing. One, I liked the concept of the metaphor for habitat for Aurora. I think it just contrasts the Jupiter conversation really, really well. Two, I like how sweet Aurora sounds when she's dismissing Bo. There's a lot of like, oh honey, but like you're wrong, and I think that kind of adds to the difference between the way she talks and he talks, and also the idea that like women have to be kind in order to tell someone they're an ass. Three, I liked the meditated response that Aurora had to Bo. Bo kind of comes from this self-pity, kind of a deep emotion of self-hatred, and she kind of goes like, wow, and has this kind of like calm response. Even though it is dipped in emotion, it isn't pathetically self-pitying. It's just like, this is what you're feeling, this is how I live life, and you're wrong. And it's like it's real, but it's not overdoused with emotion. One bad thing about the writing, I think the metaphor was as good as I thought it was. I think it was a little small, and I didn't have a lot to write, and this monologue was pretty short, just like the last one, but it just felt like I kind of ran out of things to say by the end of it, and I had repeated a lot of things, and so I went back to do revisions. I cut a lot of stuff, so I felt like there wasn't a lot of depth in what I could have found for this monologue, and I don't think there's a way I could have changed that, but I think that's just an unfortunate consequence of going about the metaphor this way. But for its third iteration, like this is the third time I tried writing the monologue, and I think it was the best out of the three, and it was the shortest out of the three, and but it was the only metaphor that worked, I thought, and it was the only one that actually directly talked to Bo and his point of balance and feeling safe in this middle ground, and the other ones didn't. It just kind of put him down, and this one, the way that this one turned out was the best it could have been, as much as it was maybe not my favorite metaphor. Three good things about the acting. One, I enjoyed the levels of this monologue. I feel like she starts in one place, goes to another, gets angry, gets emotional, gets very calm. There's a lot of tactics that Aurora plays against Bo. Two, I feel like I really laid out the argument for Aurora. She starts in one place and she ends in another. There's a thesis, there's a conclusion, and she kind of just sits there and she's like, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, and it kind of, it very thematically kind of goes through that, and it makes an incredible argument, and she really argues her case, and I thought that was good. Three, I just like the place it started. I feel like when you hear a man talk about, a privileged man talk about how much he doesn't like himself, it's kind of like, whoa, hold on, as much as everything's valid, I think when we talk about the conversation of suffering, it's weird to hear it from a man or a person of privilege or power. And so when one person is talking to another about suffering, and that person that's talking doesn't truly know what the other person's suffering is, it gets weird when they're searching for pity. I don't know. I think it was a good response that she had to a man caught in this deep self-pity. One bad thing about the acting, I choked on some words. I feel like when I was, I liked the levels, I liked the way I went about the metaphor, I liked the way that I personalized the character, but I did choke on some words. And I'm gonna take that fault, I'm gonna take that hit, because I think the rest of what I did was good enough. And I think maybe if I did a couple more runs, if I had a little bit more time, I could have perfected that. But yeah, the character chokes on her words in a way that doesn't really seem real, but I think the rest of the monologue, you know, earns its space. The goal for the next monologue is to just bring some more like love and emotion into it. You can tell that these characters have a deep relationship. You can tell that they're comfortable talking deep, but you don't really see a lot of their love. And I think, especially in this conversation, I didn't include kind of their deep relationship of they fucking love each other, like they were in a relationship. So I think going forward, I want to create dialogue or monologues that showcase their deep connection as much as their deep disagreements, because you have to believe that they're in love before they can break up. Thank you for watching. This was letter 8 out of 26 for Alphabet Superset. Come back next week. We're a little bit behind, so we're going to post a bunch all at the same time. Look out for that. Comment what you feel, comment what you know, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to think. And thank you so much for watching. Let's make bad art.